Hi guys, just a quick video today really, more of an update more than anything, and I'm just going to do a bit of general chit chat really about my kind of history with consoles, because I've not spoke about that before, so I thought it might be a little bit of an interesting thing to do, give a bit of background. So yeah, first of all, the update is that I'm still going to be doing some videos on my PS4 collection. I might mix up the format though, to be honest. I think at the moment the videos I'm doing are a little bit too long-winded, so I'm going to look at a way of kind of still having decent content in there in terms of gameplay and stuff, but maybe just trimming it down so it's a bit more digestible for people. But if anyone's got any suggestions, make a comment below. I'm more than happy to kind of have a look at it. I'm also going to do a video covering my PS2 collection. I did the video recently with the unboxing, and I enjoyed that, and it was quite fun. And I'd never realised how cheap buying mystery boxes could be. The game's in really good condition, better condition than any games I've got in my collection, which when I do a video showing my PS2 collection, you'll see what I mean. I mean, some of the boxes where, like, I think, well, you can see them, they're behind me there, the new ones that I opened, and I got one recently that I bought that's in not too bad nick, but you can see you get this white strip, but some of them were that old, like I get them and it's like yellowed because maybe somebody's had it sitting in the sun too long. Doesn't really bother me too much. I'm more like the nostalgia of having the game, but obviously the better condition I can get it, the better, because I don't want loads of old mouldy yellow PS2 games on my shelf. It just doesn't look great. So I was thinking of doing that. Another thing I'm thinking of doing as well is I watch a lot of speedrunning, stuff like that. I find it like really, I don't tend to just watch it, like have all my focus on it. It'll be on in the background, and I find it very therapeutic. There's like a time in my life where I was dealing with like a lot of stress, and oddly enough I used to just put them on and then I'd just sit there and vegetate. Not the healthiest thing in the world, but for some reason now, after all that, I kind of watch them and it almost like calms me down and puts me in this like meditative state. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like it kind of helped me through a hard time, and I wouldn't mind having to go at speedrunning the game myself. I'm no master or anything. I just want to do something easy and straightforward. I'm thinking maybe one of the Castlevania games, one of the early ones on the NES, just something I can learn straightforward, because there's not a lot of that game's very like you jump and then you're locked into that jump. I think those kind of mechanics might make it easier for me. So I might give that a go at some point. I'm not going to break any world records, sorry to disappoint. I might get the record for the slowest speedrun ever, but yeah, I just thought it might be fun to have a crack at it. So I've kind of got that in the pipeline in the back of my mind. But yeah, I'm also playing through Oblivion at the moment because I realised I had most of the DLC. I've only uploaded 2 parts at the moment of the video. And I know I've done that previously with some other games and not uploaded anymore, but this one I'm up to part 10. I just haven't uploaded it because I don't want to just bombard all the videos at once. I mean, they're an hour a piece. Another thing I noticed as well was just simple things like I wasn't sitting close enough to the microphone to really get good sound quality on there. So I've started doing that now. So you'll see as the videos progress, it does get better. Another thing I noticed is when I was recording it, the actual kind of, I think you probably call it the gamma on the screen is different when it comes out in the recording. So I was going in caves and dark areas, can't see anything. So I've adjusted that moving forwards, and that shouldn't be a problem. I just need to pay more attention and be a bit more meticulous with the editing. I was a bit naive thinking just record the gameplay, talk over it, it'll be easy. And really, like, if you want a decent quality video, it's obviously not as simple as that. So I hold my hands up for that. It's my fault. But yeah, today I'm going to talk a little bit about like kind of my history with consoles. A lot of people my age always, I mean, I'm mid-30s, and they usually say like they grew up on like the NES and stuff like that. For me, it wasn't the NES. I grew up, my first console, as far back as I can remember, was the Amiga 600. I remember my cousin had an Amiga 1200. I was really jealous. But the beautiful thing about the Amiga 600 was it was like my dad could just go out somewhere to like car boot sale or a magazine shop. You'd get a magazine, you'd get a floppy disk with like 5 or 6 games on it, and they were only demos. But you know, at that point I was really young, so it's almost like it didn't register in my brain. It was a demo. I was like, great, new game. Like I had rafts and rafts of floppy disks of games. One of the drawbacks of floppy disks is like the data can get corrupted on them very easily. So I literally have none of them to show for me now. I don't even have my Amiga anymore to show for me, and there is a reason for that. Maybe I'll skim past that in this video, maybe I won't, and talk about it another time. But yeah, after the Amiga, and then I moved on to the Super Nintendo. That was my first real like console. And I think the first game I ever completed actually was on that. That was Donkey Kong Country. And it took me like 2 years of solid. I remember the levels were so hard. I play it back now and I just breeze through it because I'm older and I guess maybe my reflexes and my reactions are better. And then it was really hard. And I remember like I first completed Donkey Kong Country and I ran down the stairs to tell my mum. I was like, Mom, I've done it. I've beat Donkey Kong. And I was so excited. And she was just like, oh, great. She'll never play that again, will you? And I was like, oh, okay. I just went back to my room. She was quite negative. Like I was like, for me, that was like a really big achievement. She's right though, I never played it again. Because I had a habit of just complete stuff and then just not touching it again. My one regret from those days was really, I should have held on to my consoles and my games and looked after them. I never did. That only really changed a lot later on. I was very much like taking out the box there, throw the box away, didn't care, just wanted to smack the game in and play it, And then I remember, I had the Super Nintendo for a while. And then the PS1 came out. Well, actually, no, I did have a Mega Drive as well. I had a mate who had a Mega Drive. I ended up picking one myself at some point along the line. It's that far back now. I can't remember how I acquired these consoles, but I only had like a couple of games for that. I think I had that like 3-in-1. I think it had like columns. It wasn't Road Rash. It was, I can't remember what it was called. It was like a game on a motorbike. And then it had Golden Axe on it. I might have had Streets of Rage. I had Zenon 2 Mega Blast as well. I used to play the hell out of that. Never completed it. And again, like if I went back to it now, I could probably complete it. But yeah, that was a really like cool game. And yeah, so then the PS1 came out. I didn't get a PS1 for a long time. I ended up getting like a second-hand one a few years into the life cycle. And I had to, it was just knackered. I had to like put a shoe on top of it to play the games. I think the only game I had was like Final Fantasy IX, and I was borrowing that off a friend. Yeah, it was painful. I actually managed to complete Final Fantasy IX all 4 discs with a shoe on top. It was so like temperamental. Yeah, and again, I don't even know what happened to that console, or like I never looked after any of my stuff. I was very like reckless. I remember anyway at the time I actually had the PlayStation. We'd moved house so many times, lived in a lot of houses. We did move a lot. And so stuff kind of got lost in transit, and one day I kind of dug out the Amiga, and like I was saying to my friend, oh, this is my old console, and you'd think like, I was such a knob, you'd think I would like cherish it, but I was like, oh, let's pour gravy on it. And I poured gravy all over it. No idea why, but I was a very destructive child. I poured gravy all over it, and then I got a screwdriver and started popping the keys off. I absolutely destroyed it. And now I'm like, wow, I kind of wish I still had that. Like, I never like knew the value of anything, it's really bad. And yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And then I think near the end, when my PS1 was on my last legs, my mum bought me like an N64 for Christmas. That cost her an arm and a leg. We didn't have a lot of money, growing up, so I was pretty lucky to get an N64 really at the time. They were like super expensive. She got me Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. And that's another game that I remember completing, and I was just like, I've completed it! I beat it! Like, because it was such a big game and there was parts I was stuck on for ages. And I remember that feeling of like, I did the first 3 areas. You do like the Deku Tree, don't you? And then I think there's like the Goron areas at the mountain. I might be remembering a little wrong, but there's like 3 areas anyway at the start. And I think the last one is like the Zora's domain when you go inside Jabu Jabu's belly. Can't believe I'm remembering all this stuff. But yeah, I remember finding that hard at the time, and then I did it. And I was thinking in my head like, oh, I've beat the game. And then you grow up, and then you have to go to all the other temples. I was just like, it just blew my mind. And like going through the end castle, getting the gauntlets, you get like the silver gauntlets where you could just chuck boulders. And then because you could find the fairies fountain, I remember upgrading them to the golden ones, and you could lift like, you could lift massive pillars and just flip them behind you like they were nothing. It was just an awesome game, and it really like challenged me, you know. So yeah, that game was just like absolutely amazing. And again, didn't hold on to it, didn't look after the box or anything because I was just an idiot. But yeah, games like Mario 64, Mystical Ninja on the N64. Oh, I absolutely love that. Tried playing that on an emulator recently, but it just ran like garbage. I think it's something to do with the Skybox. It struggles to emulate it. But Mystical Ninja was amazing. And that's another one. Again, it like took me ages to complete it, and I completed it, and I was like, just remember the feeling of beating it. The big boss fights and the big like blooming Power Rangers style robots. So good, so good. And all the different characters you could play as, the special powers. That game was just like brilliant. And then I think after my N64, I kind of settled into PC gaming a little bit. I had like, it wasn't an amazing PC, but it was decent enough. This was around like the PS2 area. I can't speak to that. This was around like the PS2 era, because I remember my friend had a PS2, and I just had like a PC. I was very much like, I'm not even sure if the term being coined like PC master race, but I'd see games on the PS2 and then on the PC, and I'd be like, it looks clearer and better on the PC. So why would I want a PS2? You know, I don't really feel like that now. Especially, well, nowadays, you want to play older games on the PC. It's an absolute nightmare if you've got like Windows 10 or something like that. Funnily enough, I found a website, which I might mention in another video, but this guy, I'm going to donate to him on PayPal. He's done such a good job. Rather than kind of giving you these abandonware games just to download, then being like, figure it out for yourself and let people figure it out in the comments. He's actually done full-on adjustments to the games. Like I've got the first Discworld, Future Cop LAPD he's got. But when you open it up, he's like edited the game so that it just installs. And then like Future Cop LAPD, for example, I start running it, and it just runs like a virtual desktop for Windows 98, which he's like packed in with the game, just so you don't have to like break a sweat trying to figure out how to get it to run. Absolutely amazing. Do you know what? I'll put it in the comments of this. There's only about like 10 or 15 games on there. I say only, it must have taken so much effort to do this. So yeah, like if you're into like really old school PC games, like donate to this guy, because the work he's done is just like absolutely amazing. But yeah, so yeah, I was in my PC gaming phase, and then after that, yeah, I didn't really get a console for a while. I think actually I did pick up an Xbox at some point. I did pick up an Xbox. I can barely even remember what games I had. I'm pretty sure I might have had the first Halo. And then other than that, I can't really remember much about it, if I'm being honest. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Oh my God, that game, amazing. It wasn't even Conker's Bad Fur Day, that's the N64 one. Conker Live and Reloaded. I actually re-bought that now. I've got it now. Plays on the Xbox One S. That game is just, if you've not played that game, like just play it. Play it. It's so good. So good. Like everyone's just like begging for like a Conker reboot, but it's just not happening at the moment. Yeah, so there was that. I had my Xbox, but then the next generation came along, and it was the whole Xbox 360. I went and got an Xbox 360. I didn't go for the PS3. It was just ridiculously expensive, so I didn't go for it. Again, at this point, I wasn't looking after my games. I was putting them in the wrong cases. Didn't care. And, you know, and another thing to mention as well is like I was only like skimming the surface of like what video games are available. By that I mean, I think you get like two types, you know, of gamer, for lack of a better term. You get the ones who kind of dig a bit deeper and really see what's out there, and then they can get some real nice hidden gems and games nobody knows about. And then you'll get the ones that just get the games that are kind of thrown out in the face, you know, Call of Duty, FIFA, You know, at the time it was like Gears of War, stuff like that. You know, GTA's, and there's nothing wrong with those games. They obviously, like, a lot of them sell well because they're really good games, but I never had that urge back then to kind of try and dig deeper and see what was available. I kind of wish I did, but then if I did, would I have looked after them? I don't know. Maybe I would have, because I think if you've got the attitude to look a bit deeper, then you tend to maybe look after your games a little bit more because you know you've got something special, I think. But yeah, that's my take on that anyway. So yeah, I kind of like went with a 360 for a while, a long time actually. That was a really long console generation. I think it was like, I might be wrong here, but it's probably like 8 to 10 years. It was a long time before we got like anything else came along. Then the PS4 came out, and I was in well, at this point, you know, I was working at a job that I like absolutely despised. It was crap pay. I was living flat on my own. Like, I was pretty much on the bones of my ass. I don't even remember how I managed to muster the money together to get PS4. I think I saved a lot in advance to get one, and there was a lot of trouble at the time getting an older one, which, you know, in comparison to the PS5 now is nowhere near as much trouble. It's weird, there's more trouble like every year. I guess we can give them a bit of a reprieve this year of everything that's gone on in the world. You know, that's probably impacted it, but yeah, so anyway, the PS4 came out, I bought that. Again, I was looking after my games a little bit better, because I think because I'd saved up for so long for it, I think I started thinking like, this is costing me a lot of money, you know. But at that point, I wasn't collecting games. I was buying games. If I was going to buy another game, I would trade games in to get that other game and get money off it, because I didn't have a lot of money. You know, back when I had the 360, I was still living at home and I was doing like part-time job and stuff, you know, so I had a lot of like disposable. And yeah, so I did kind of amount a decent collection of games, but I was still trading stuff in, you know. That was just what I did. And I got ripped off on a lot of games, you know. Just jumping back to the 360, I remember buying, I always say this, but Duke Nukem Forever. Spent 50 quid on that. It's ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, back to the PS4. I was going on for a bit with the PS4, and then I don't know what triggered it. I got into trophy hunting. I think like maybe I just didn't have a lot going on in my life at the time, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll turn this into a hobby. And I got into trophy hunting, and around that time I started holding on to my games more, because I was thinking, oh, I'll go back to that and platinum it. So I still wasn't really collecting. And then as time went on, I started thinking, oh, there's a few PS3 games that I could probably platinum. But then I didn't really have the money to buy a PS3, and I won like some stupid raffle at work. I say stupid raffle, I won it. They gave me like 100 quid, so I went out, got like second-hand PS3, started picking up PS3 games for like a couple of quid each. And then the trophy hunting kind of just dropped off for me, because I started realising that I was investing so many hours into games, and it started feeling like, it felt like another job almost. And I realised that nobody really cared how many trophies I had. Nobody really cared. And, you know, I'd go on forums and I'd have like close to 20 platinums. They'd have like hundreds. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? Like, I'm not even going to be anywhere near anyone who's competing here. And the shine was kind of wearing off of like unlocking the trophies. And there were frustrations with bugs in games that stopped you from getting the trophies, and then they wouldn't be patched. Yeah, it was really frustrating. There's some games I bought for the PS3 that didn't even have trophy support, because that only came later with the PS3, and then it was up to the developers to patch it in, really. So yeah, it got a bit frustrating, and then somewhere along the line, I started thinking, oh, well, maybe I could make some money out of it. Do you know what it was from? I think I'd stumbled across Metal Jesus' YouTube channel. I was so jealous of all the games he had. I was literally thinking to myself, he could sell his game room and he could like probably buy a house. And another thing I was thinking was, a house for me was a big thing at that point. I've got a house now, but at that point I couldn't see myself achieving it, you know, within any amount of time. I was on crap pay, I had no savings, there's nothing around the corner. So I think in my mind I was like, get as many games as I can. They'll go up in value. Started looking at forums, what PS3 games are going to be rare. That's why I have some of the games I have now. Because my end game plan was like, 5-10 years, I can sell my collection, make a few grand. In hindsight, it was ridiculous. It wasn't really a sound investment plan. And, if you're going to do something like that, there's a lot better things you can do than video games. But at the time, this was my thinking. I guess I just felt desperate and I wasn't confident enough to maybe invest. Well, I mean, I had nothing to invest. At least I knew I could buy a PS3 game for £5-6 quid. Maybe it'll be worth 100 quid a few years' time. And then I can, get 20 times my money back or whatever. It's bizarre how I thought, but that was really the point that I started looking after my stuff, because I started seeing it as an investment, started putting things in the right case and everything, And then from there, it just kind of built, because initially I started doing that for the PS3, because then it was really, really cheap to buy games for the PS3. It still is really cheap, but then it was just disgustingly cheap, because nobody cared about the PS3 anymore. The PS4 was the new guy in the market, been out for 3 years, nobody cared. So then as time went on, I was building that up. And at some point, I think maybe it was closer to maybe when I moved in here, I realized that, it's like I was collecting PS4 games and not even realizing, because I'd stopped trading them in. With my habit of looking for the cheapest games I could on PS3, that sort of transferred over to the PS4. And me looking for those deeper, more hidden rare gems or whatever on the PS3 just kind of created a habit for me. And I started doing that with the PS4. And now over time, my PS4 collection's built up quite a bit. Even over the last month or so, I wouldn't even say I had a lot of disposable, but I think I'm close to 200 games now. I've covered a lot so far on this channel. There's still probably about 100 I've not talked about, There's never any shortage of them. I've still got my eye on loads now that I want to pick up. But again, they're cheap. I just buy on a budget. It's a habit that's I don't necessarily have to now. I'm not saying I'm loaded, I'm really not. But I just think, rather than buy 1 or 2 games for 30 to 40, 50 quid, I can pick up 4 or 5 for 25, 30 quid. And I'd rather do that. And then I've got a lot of variation. If I'm ever really bored, I can just pick something up and play it. So yeah, now looking back, it's something I'm kind of proud of. And another thing that I did mention there, was that when I started buying for the PS3 and collecting the rare games, I also started looking at the PS2 as well. And I picked up a PS2 Slim. At that point, I picked it up for 30 quid. Now they're a bit more expensive from what I've seen online. Mine needs a little bit of a fix. It has it's the Slim model and it has the disc read. It doesn't press one of the buttons down properly. That's the really untechnical term to describe what it is. I know what it is. I know how to fix it. I have a temporary fix, which is just put a shoe on it, just like the good old days. Every PlayStation console should come with a shoe. Or anything, like the PS1 or the PS2 should have just come packed with a shoe. But yeah, it was not good. And I was lucky really as well, because just talking about console faults, I've never really had any problems with my PS3, although it's not the backwards compatible PS2 one. I wish it was, but if I was to buy one of them now, it'd have to be modded or something, or I'd have to mod it myself, because I just don't think they're worth the money you would pay for them online if you're not able to do the work. Because my friend got one and he got a really good price on it. He didn't even know, I think, that it was one of those models. And he was like, it plays PS2 games. I was like, you having a laugh? I was like, you jammy sod. He always gets jammy deals like that. But then it broke. So I think it yellow lighted to death on him. So again, they don't have a great lifespan. And even the 360, I just said I didn't have bad luck with them, but no, the 360 I had a lot of bad luck. I had a few rings of deaths. I had to send it off for repair. I bought the Elite console. 3 months later, it bricked on me. I wrote a big angry letter to Microsoft, never got a response. They're just lucky Game Pass is such a good deal, or just be do one Microsoft. I was so angry about it. That was hard-earned money for me at the time, but yeah, whatever. So anyway, I think I'm up to speed about with where I am now, and yeah, it's just interesting how over time your attitude can change towards video games. I mean, well, my friend though, he's always looked after his games. That was just always what he did. For me, it just took me some time to, I don't know, maybe shift my attitude, or it just wasn't. It's strange. Like, I think looking back at my collecting history and the consoles I had and how I treated them, it kind of shows like a change in me at the same time. Like now I actually look after my stuff and I see value in it, and I don't know, it just feels nice to have them and know those things are looked after. Whereas I used to not really care about that. I mean, you could argue that I've become more materialistic, which would be a bad thing. But I don't know, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that, you know. And I'm not like, you know, if I was materialistic, I feel like I said, when I collected for the PS3, my main drive there was make money, get rare games. And going forwards, my attitude changed there. You know, I advanced in my job, things happened in my life that changed my situation, and I guess maybe that impacted my outlook a little bit. I mean, really now, if I wanted to still buy things because of value, I'd be buying loads of horror games. You probably noticed I don't have a lot of horror games. If you want games that are pretty well guaranteed to go up in value or be sought after, you buy horror games. You know, especially for like PS2, PS3. I don't really like have a lot. I have Resident Evil games, but I don't really have like a lot of the niche stuff. You know, Clock Tower, don't have a single Silent Hill. Never even played it. Like a lot of people give me shit for that. And that's fair enough, because I don't doubt that they're great games, but it's just not for me. So yeah, despite still wanting to make money, I guess, at some points, I still never really dipped into that genre, really. It just, I guess some part of me still wanted to at least play the games, or I would have picked up those games. I'd have Silent Hills now, like whatever ones. I mean, I know there were Silent Hills on the PS3, but I've just not looked deep enough into it. Because, like I say, it just wasn't for me. So, yeah, I mean, we all have our own ways we collect and stuff. I was thinking recently, I wouldn't mind collecting Game Boy Color games, you know, but I was thinking, well, they're going to be really expensive in box, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, well, why don't I just get the cartridges? Like, if I'm just bothered about playing the game and finding some hidden gems like Dragon Quest Monsters or something, or some of the Zelda games, then I don't need the box. Just have the cartridges if it's just for me. So that's something I've been kind of playing around with in my head. I tend to roll ideas around in my head for a while and then maybe eventually pull the trigger. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, I'm gonna finish the video there. I don't want it to go over half an hour. I know I have a habit of just like talking on forever sometimes, so I'm gonna keep it as short as possible. Like I said, in future, I'm going to try and trim down the PS4 videos a little bit. Still put gameplay in there. Maybe I'll just talk about less games and maybe try and add a bit more to say about those games. I'll do something. I just feel like the current format maybe needs shaking up a little bit. And yeah, I'm going to try and like venture out into some maybe like other areas, because like, yeah, I just don't want to be doing the same stuff all the time. You know, I'm always happy to talk about video games, and there's always going to be new ones I'll talk about, but I want to be doing other stuff as I go along. So yeah, that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was a good listen for you. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. I'm nearly at 50. I'm 1 off 50. Don't think I get anything for 50. I think I get my own like URL. Yeah, I get my own URL, I think, at 100. So for me, that's like, if I get there. But yeah, anyway, that's it for today. See you again soon. Bye.